We've seen the all-out tussle between the Delhi government, the Lieutenant Governor, the central government over the appointment of officers, over the transfers as well. And now in a unanimous verdict that came in from the Supreme Court, which has been hearing this matter for the last few months, the court said that the Delhi government can decide with regards to service, with regards to administration. So appointment, transfer of officials is something that the government will take a call on, and that the LG is bound by that decision.
Big win for Delhi CM Arvind Kejriwal after a long drawn-out fight with the Lieutenant Governor and the centre. In a unanimous verdict, the Supreme Court on Thursday demarcated the powers of the centre and Delhi government with regard to governance of the national capital. The top court declared that the centre would control Delhi's land, public order and police. But the Delhi government will have legislative and executive powers over services. This means the Delhi government will decide on transfers and postings of all officials, including IAS, except those related to land, police and law and order. The court also ruled that the Lieutenant Governor was bound by the elected government's decisions.
The ideal conclusion would be that GNCTD ought to have control over services, subject to exclusion of subjects which are out of its legislative domain. If services are excluded from its legislative and executive domain, the ministers and executives and the executive who are charged with formulating policies in the territory of NCTD would be excluded from controlling the civil service officers who implement such executive decisions.
Soon after the decision was announced, celebrations erupted at the Aam Aadmi Party headquarters in Delhi, where CM Kejriwal received a grand welcome. Party workers celebrated with firecrackers and drums. Aam Aadmi Party slammed the Narendra Modi government, accusing it of trying to usurp the powers of the Delhi government.
3 महीने के अंदर ही प्रधानमंत्री जी ने एक आदेश पारित करवाया केंद्र सरकार से कि दिल्ली के सर्विसेज के मामले अब दिल्ली की मुख्यमंत्री के पास नहीं रहेंगे, वो एलजी के पास रहेंगे या केंद्र सरकार के पास रहेंगे। ये आदेश प्रधानमंत्री जी ने 23 मई 2015 को पारित किया। 8 साल हो गए उन बातों को, 8 साल से संघर्ष कर रहे हैं हम लोग। तो इसको इस्तेमाल करके दिल्ली के हर काम को रोका गया। एक तरह से मेरे दोनों हाथ बांध दिए गए पीछे और मुझे नदी में फेंक दिया गया कि अब तैरो।
With this Supreme Court verdict, the Delhi government has become the real masters of the civil servants in the city-state, ending a long-standing spat between the elected government and the centre. With Sanjay Sharma and Anisha Mathur, Bureau Report, India Today.
So what really does today's Supreme Court verdict mean in the functioning of the national capital? Let's get you the 5 big takeaways from the unanimous verdict from the top court today. First is, of course, that the Delhi government gets power to appoint as well as transfer officers. The second big takeaway, as far as the central powers in the national capital in the Union Territory is concerned, is that the centre has control over land, over public order as well as police. And that's been clearly demarcated by the centre. But here's another big takeaway from the Supreme Court order. It is that the Lieutenant Governor is bound by the Delhi government's decision on services. So any decision that the government takes, the LG is bound to give his nod to. Now, beyond that, also what the Supreme Court has said is that governance is a key factor with the elected Delhi government, and also has said that any other democratically elected state government, in the case of the national capital, in the case of Delhi too, the governance and administration remains with the state government. So that's takeaway number 5 for you. These are essentially the big takeaways from the Supreme Court verdict, and what will really seem like at the national level remains to be seen as far as politics is concerned. Let me take this across also to Preeti Chaudhary, who's joining me live here in the newsroom. Preeti, do you think, and I think this is the question most Delhiites will ask, do you think this finally puts an end to the ugly chapter of the, showdown, the war of words between the Delhi and the central government over several decisions?
Well, no, I don't think that's happened. But what has happened is, at least for now, the Aam Aadmi Party and Arvind Kejriwal can claim victory. Why do I say that, Akshata? Because it's an 8-year fight. It was way back in 2015 when, the government, through an amendment by the MHA, had amended the constitution to suggest, because already if you look at where the Delhi government stands, land, public order, police are, three aspects that it doesn't control. That comes under the center. As for the 2015 MHA order, that was tweaked, and, public services, which is transfers, when you talk about the bureaucracy, that would also come under the center, which is report to the governor. Now, lots of ups and downs through High Court, Supreme Court. Ultimately, one thing has been settled, that services, which is transfer, and the bureaucracy now falls under Arvind Kejriwal. So a lot of files that have gotten pushed around over the last 8 years, under the pretext that the matter is still sub judice. That is what the governor says.
Correct.
And many a times, just about last week as well, the governor himself took 3 meetings of bureaucrats in Delhi, which of course were opposed by the Delhi government. So all of that is settled right now, because the bureaucracy in terms of services now reports to Arvind Kejriwal. Having said that, it's not, that the Delhi cabinet will function like any other state, because still what is, maintained is police, public order and land will be under the LG.
Yes.
Right.
So let's see how that plays out. Thanks very much, Preeti, for joining us. What's very clear from what Preeti told us is that there are several issues and showdowns, face-offs between the centre and the Delhi government. It remains unresolved even now. Right now, yes, AAP can claim a big victory. They can celebrate it, but there is a lot more that they will fight it out for in the national capital. So let's run you through some of those issues, the contentions that we've been seeing between the Delhi government and the central government. Most recently, the issue that we saw was over the appointment of aldermen. AAP accused the Lieutenant Governor of bypassing the government. This was in January, and going ahead and appointing these aldermen when the government is supposed to be consulted. Another issue was the removal of government nominees. This was a big controversy over power discoms. The LG accused the AAP government of going ahead and nominating their favourites, and thereby there's been an investigation ordered in that. The free power scheme, again, the Lieutenant Governor intervened, saying there's something that's not right, there are irregularities, and thereby has ordered a probe against AAP. The Aam Aadmi Party has cried foul, saying this is a political witch hunt. Now, there was also another scheme by which additional classrooms were built in schools. The Lieutenant Governor pulled up the Chief Secretary, saying that I need a report on the investigation, alleging that the investigation into the scheme itself was delayed. Now, let's get to also another big showdown, the procurement of buses in the national capital, DTC buses. The Lieutenant Governor again has said that this has loopholes, and thereby has ordered a CBI investigation into this particular scam as well.